study college or IBSCs. The representative lecturer from Dongkuk University, Professor Sunil and his accompanients. All the lecturers of IBSC and of Dongkuk University in Korea. We join the programs online all over the world. And good morning, all the students of IBSC MCU and the students of Dongkuk University in Korea and all the people who are interested in international conference on the main theme Mindfulness, Globality and Locality. Today, this morning, these auspicious times and the good occasion for us, especially IBSC of MCU and Dongkuk Universities here in the headquarters led by Professor Sudhir and companion. And all the students come together and organize international conference to support the MOU which has been signed many months ago. And it can be paved the way to go together ahead on site and online, especially regarding creating and find out the best way to develop the human mind. We are, I think, convinced together that inside the human being, we have the valuable asset inside there, the human wisdoms, by which we can do everything on earth by the human being if we developed in full fledged. I'm sure that apart from the Buddhist method, we cannot find out any other way to develop the human wisdoms in full fledged. On this matter, maybe because of the director of IBSC, Professor Dr. Prakuparat Panyabalavat, who are engaged and expertise in the method of Satipatthana or four foundation of mindfulness. I think we have read many times the passage in Mahasatipatthana Sutta. I think all the Buddhist followers all over the world and the other people, even though they belong to other religions, assure in the Lord Buddha words that Ekayano ayang pikve makho sattanang visuddhiya soka pritevanang samatikamaya tukha thomanassanang atthang khamaya yayasa atikamaya nippanasa satikiriyaya. ยะติทังจัตตารโรสติปัฏฐานา This sentence in Pali language can be regarded as proof by the Buddha and confirmed and guaranteed by the Buddha that oh monk, this is the only one way for the purification of the creature, world creatures. For the overcoming the grief and lamentation, for the destruction of the sufferings and mental painful feelings, for attainment of the knowable truth, for the realization of Nibbana. This is the way of Satipatthana. These words of the Buddhas make us, I think, be assured and have the firm faith to follow this way. And we consider that all the methods of practicing meditation, the way of mental development, whatever where, whatever religion, whatever institution, when they talk about the way of development of the mental of the human's mind, all the way can be include in the way of Satipatthana only. We may have some doubt that why the Buddhist followers select this way, the way of Satipatthana, to be the way of development of human being. If we have a look deeply inside that, starting from Kayanupassana Satipatthana, the foundations of contemplating the body up to Dhammanupassana Satipatthana, we can see all the aspects of this way covering the whole body of the human being. For example, in the beginning, before starting practicing, we have to contemplate our breath in and out. Very most important when we talk about the breathing in and out. Breathing is life, life is breathing. Without breathing, we have no life. So in the beginning, we have to control and follow up our breathing in and out. If we just control and measure breathing in and out in the proper manner, we can have the benefits and good results covering mental and physical health. And because of it, we can go to the next step. The main action, the sub-action of the human life, starting from standing, walking, sitting, and finally sleeping. We have the clear comprehensions of the action of the body like this. And because of this, we can strengthen our mindfulness. From the strength of mindfulness, it means we are able to get the concentration. So starting by strong mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom inside that. So today we start the valuable activity to work together and create the best way and present the best way to develop the human mind to the world. Valuable access for the world from Buddhism. So thank you very much for all the administrators of Dongkuk University in Korea, here led by Dr. Kunim and Venerable and his team, come to participate in the event here. And so much thanks to Professor Dr. Prakupalat Panyavalat and his staff, and all the students also who come together and make the event colorful. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So on behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to respectfully thanks and appreciate Most Venerable Chairperson of today's event, the Most Venerable Professor Dr. Tham Vachara Bandit, Rector of Mahacharan Kongracha Vidyalaya University. Now Venerable Chongdok will offer some souvenir, the gift of Dhamma, to our Most Venerable Chairperson. Yes. So kindly invite the Korean delegates to take group picture together with our Venerable Chairperson. So please kindly be in front of the stage. Okay, thank you very much. So once again, I would like to respectfully thanks the Most Venerable Professor Dr. Pratam Vachara Bandit, the MCO Rector, to preside over today's program and deliver the opening remark. So thank you very much. Okay, so now, without further ado, we will start with our first speaker for this morning's session. So we have a bit of change among the first presenter. So our first speaker for this morning's session will be Venerable Chongdok Chong Wan Park, who is currently a professor at the College of Buddhism and director of Institute of Buddhist Culture at Dongkuk University. And he has received his Doctor of Philosophy in Buddhist Studies from University of Oxford in 2005, based on his dissertation entitled A Translation and Study of Selected Avadanas of the Mila Sarvastavadin Vinaya. And his main research interest is in Buddhist narrative. He's also doing research on the contemporary Korean Buddhism as well, and he has achieved many other achievements. So without further ado, please, Venerable Sir, you can begin your presentation.
Hello, my name is Jung Deok from Dongguk University. And first of all, I have to say that this is I'm really happy today that and this is our first academic conference since our MOU between two institutions, IBSC and Dongguk. And I think that this we are going to have this kind of the academic conference on the regular basis. And besides Mindfulness, I think two institutions we can deal with many other interesting topics. So I think this is a very really good start for both of us, and hope to see you quite often dealing with many the topics. And today I happen to be a first speaker because the Venerable Hansa, he is now seeing the lecture off. So now I'm going to start this conference. The title of my, the topic is the mindfulness meditation during COVID-19 pandemic, focusing on Korean examples and studies. And over the past 2 years, due to COVID-19 pandemic, people around the world have lost vitality in their lives, as their daily lives have seen substantial changes. The pandemic has caused numerous infections and deaths, leading to mental suffering, in addition to the more obvious outcome of serious physical illness. Korea has been no exception to this pattern. According to Korea's National Mental Health Service survey, 48% of respondents experienced anxiety and depression due to COVID-19. Although this term does not appear to have become as popular as in the English-speaking world, the pandemic has led to the coining of the term Corona Blue in Korea. Corona Blue combines the concept of COVID-19 and depression, and it refers to isolation, depression, and lethargy people experiences in response to large changes to their daily lives due to the spread of infectious diseases. The causes of corona blue, which are primarily involved in the social distancing and self-quarantine in response to COVID-19, include interpersonal disconnection, anxiety about infection, and decreased income due to economic contraction. As a result, depression caused by the pandemic is being experienced by all age groups in Korea. For example, children and adolescents have experienced feelings of anxiety, worry, fear, and depression, while complaining of not being able to meet with their friends due to school restrictions, along with the problems with academic maladjustment due to the non-face-to-face nature of their classes. University students also reported negative emotions such as depression and feelings of helplessness while experiencing corona blue in the transition from face-to-face classes to non-face-to-face classes. Housewives have experienced depression and stress as their time at home has increased due to non-face-to-face classes and telecommuting, along with the anxiety about infection. Small business owners also face threat to their economic survival due to consumption contraction. The elderly and disabled are also experiencing many difficulties due to the public welfare services available. The most serious problems caused by COVID-19 are physical illness and an increase in the number of deaths caused by the viral infection. But as mentioned above, as the pandemic prolongs, psychological problems have also emerged as serious cross-generational issues. As mentioned earlier, half of the survey respondents reported that they needed support for psychotherapy services and psychological counseling in response to COVID-19. Hence, self-care related methods such as home training, meditation, and yoga are rapidly emerging as ways to reduce depression and anxiety during the pandemic. Mindfulness meditation has emerged as a particularly popular technique, mindfulness has been proven to be effective in dealing with depression and anxiety. And mindfulness may be a particularly useful method for addressing psychological problems during the pandemic, as non-face-to-face meditation can be delivered easily. Mindfulness refers to Buddhist concept of sati meditation as detailed in the Mahasatipatthana Sutta of the Digha Nikaya. The concept of sati from the Buddhist text has been applied in the modern method of mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, MBCT, acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, and dialectical behavior therapy, DBT, which have been shown to be beneficial for mental health of many types of people. Mindfulness is described in the Mahasatipatthana Sutta through concept practicing revolving around the four aspects of the body. Kaya, feelings, Vedana, thought, Citta, and ideas, Dhamma. Mindfulness of the body involves the observation of breathing and 32 body components, and mindfulness of feelings is the observation of pleasant feelings, painful feelings, etc. Meanwhile, mindfulness of the mind involves meditating on human concepts such as greed, anger, and foolish, while mindfulness of ideas is the practice of mindfulness of Buddhist truths such as the Four Noble Truths. MBSR, which has its origin in Buddhist meditation, has shown high effectiveness in relieving mental problems and stress and improving emotional health. MBCT has also shown outstanding effects in the management of the depressive symptoms. I'm going to talk about the mental health status of Korea during the COVID-19 pandemic and the need for mindfulness meditation. According to the National Health Mental Health Service Status Survey, administered by the Korean Ministry of Health and Welfare and the Korean Society for Traumatic Stress Studies in 2021, depression among Koreans during the pandemic has more than doubled compared to the rate in 2019, which was the last full year before the initial outbreak of COVID-19. Further, rate of suicidal thought has increased 3.5 times compared to 2019, and the demand for mental health services such as psychiatric treatment and psychological counseling has increased as well. Those who have been treated and quarantined for COVID-19 have also experienced various negative emotions such as fears of social criticism, worry about family, or fear of worsening the conditions, self-blame, anxiety, and helplessness and irritability. Domestic studies examine the psychological problems experienced by Koreans through big data analysis using the keyword Corona Blue. In this study, the keyword mentioned with the highest frequency in the portals and social media were depression, overcoming, mind, anxiety, lethargy, stress, etc. Regarding depression and anxiety during the pandemic, a study in Korea investigated the psychological experiences related to anxiety and depression due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The investigation was conducted online with 600 adults, 300 males and 300 females in Korea in terms of age. 364 or 60.7% were between the ages of 36 and 55, and 151 or 25.2% were between the ages of 18 and 35, and 85 or 14.2% were 56 and older. The survey result indicated that 178 patients experienced severe levels of depression, 108 patients experienced high levels of anxiety, and 185 patients experienced moderate levels of anxiety. The study showed that The factors that have contributed to depression include a decline in the economic level during the pandemic and unpredictability of life after the pandemic, while the factors contributing to anxiety were reported as fears of treatment due to infection, uncontrollability of infection, and decrease in household income. In the big data analysis of 19,576 keywords related to corona flu, keyword mentioned above, although the highest frequency was depression, but second highest frequency was overcoming. The main concept of news, SNS, and YouTube related to the keyword overcoming were information sharing to overcome depression and helplessness, psychological support programs, mental health examination services, and psychological quarantine. Meanwhile, according to the COVID-19 National Mental Health Survey of the more than 2,000 adults aged between 19 and 71 years old, 73% of participants answered that they needed support for psychological treatment services. This means that the public is complaining about psychological difficulties while simultaneously demonstrating the will to overcome COVID-19 and the psychology of active coping. Examples of representative psychological intervention method for psychological healing include psychological counseling and meditation. Face-to-face psychological counseling service can be an effective solution to mental treatment, but they are restricting in terms of time and cost. In situations where the risk of infection is increased due to face-to-face infections, non-face-to-face psychological treatment methods such as real-time online services like Zoom or the use of mobile apps or YouTube may be appropriate. Specifically, mindfulness meditation can be used in a non-face-to-face manner as long as they are materials such as manuals or videos, and it can be practiced alone. In fact, there have been studies examining the use of mindfulness online in Korea during the COVID-19 pandemic, including research investigating the effect of mindfulness-based cognitive therapy using video communications on stress and depression. The development and effectiveness verification of a non-face-to-face mindfulness group counseling program for controlling university students' life stresses and effect of a mindfulness-based course delivered live online due to COVID-19 on college students' resilience. As mentioned previously, depression and anxiety are typical among the psychological problems experienced by the public during the pandemic. And the most important thing to note here is that mindfulness has excellent benefits on depression and anxiety. Some examples shows that demonstrate the effectiveness of mindfulness include a study showing that mindfulness-based cognitive therapy improved emotional regulation ability in a group of depressed patients, and a study showing that mindfulness reduced the relapse rate of depression in patients with chronic depression by half. Furthermore, a meta-analysis of mindfulness meditation centered on Korean studies showed that mindfulness had a positive effect on the intervention of depression and anxiety symptoms. Taken together, these points of evidence indicate that mindfulness is a very useful approach for depression and anxiety in the pandemic period. This section focuses on the psychological status of the public in Korea during the pandemic, but it seems that the situation in other countries are not different from that in Korea. Therefore, I believe that examining the psychological status of Koreans during the COVID-19 pandemic and exploring the need for mindfulness meditation will provide useful information not only for Korea, but also for other countries. Conclusion. According to a domestic survey, about 48% of the people reported experiencing depression and anxiety due to COVID-19. In addition, psychological anxiety causes economic stagnation and interpersonal relationships due to social distancing and quarantine. And this distress has spread across all generations, including children, adolescents, young people, middle-aged, and elderly people. Meditation and yoga and home training have been suggested as ways to solve the mental problems of the pandemic, and mindfulness has been regarded as a particularly appropriate way to do so. Mindfulness also has the advantage that it can be used done face-to-face as long as the materials for meditation, such as manuals, videos, and programs are secured. And this makes mindfulness an appropriate method of the pandemic. Mindfulness is widely used to heal body and mind diseases such as chronic pain, depression, and anxiety, and stress through programs such as MBSR and MBCTN. And its origin is in early Buddhist text. The Mahasatipatthana Sutta of the Digha Nikaya explains in detail the method of meditation, mindfulness, for four aspects of body, body, feelings, and mind and ideas through the term sati. Sati, which has the basic meaning of remember, means to pay attention to the right now, or when memory is first working. So sati means being aware and paying attention to the thought, feelings, and sensations of the moment we experience. What can be learned from studies on mindfulness during the pandemic, including many previous studies on mindfulness before the pandemic, is that mindfulness has an effect on mental problems such as depression that have arisen during the COVID-19 pandemic, which means that mindfulness can be used as a good tool until the pandemic is completely over and our daily lives are restored. Further, the overarching implication of mindfulness is that we have a very good tool in hand to deal with another pandemic that may arise in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Venerable Shongdok, for presenting his papers on mindfulness meditation during the COVID-19 pandemic, focusing on Korean examples and studies. So he presented about the mindfulness practices during the COVID-19 pandemic using Korean examples and studies. Thank you very much, Professor. So without further ado, for the next speaker, I would like to call upon Venerable Professor Dr. Paramahansa Tamahaso, the Director of International Buddhist Studies College, to present his papers on mindfulness-based learning, a case study on Thai school education. So Venerable Professor Dr. Paramahansa is a full-time professor at International Buddhist Studies College. He's also the director who administrates here. And as the central team, Venerable Paramahansa has dedicated to the cause of using peaceful means to help prevent and manage social problems. So today he'll be presenting on mindfulness-based learning, a case study of Thai school education.
Okay, waiting for presentation. So, good morning, Professor Dr. Wang Sunin, the Dean of Buddhist College from Dongkuk University, and the Most Venerable Chondok, the Director of Research Institute. And you all who come to join us today, I think it is a remarkable time for you to have just good time to explore experiences and knowledges from our professor, lecturer. It has a long time to be here. It takes a long time to be here from Korea to organize international seminar together after we signed MOU on Vesak celebration this year. It's the first time for us to join hands in hand and deliver wisdom to you all. I do hope that in the near future we may have a chance to go to Korea and organize a seminar together along with my student who being here as well. And today, I will share my experiences with you. It is the real experiences. Of course, so far we learn more Buddha teaching. Just Buddha teaching, it seems to be difficult to bring you to understand who is the real Buddha. Because Buddha being is lying inside your mind body. And the thing I remind you all the time, the way to bring you all to seek the real Buddha, we have to practice and bring Buddha teaching to practice and implement. To me as well, when I've been to practice meditation in Myanmar and come back to Thailand, Minister of Education appointed me to find a way to teach mindfulness to young generation easily and more effectively. As you all know, young generation at this moment, they would like to learn Buddhism and another religion as well. We call non-religion. That is not the problem. There is no problem for our young generation. The problem is not Buddhism. The problem is not Buddha teaching. But the thing is that we, as the son and the daughter of the Buddha, are unable to apply Buddha teaching to let them all practice easily. We have to find a way to bring them all to practice and motivate them all, inspire them all. We have to decide curriculum. We have to decide program to let them understand. You learn already Buddha teaching. You know everything about Buddha teaching. Unfortunately, we don't have more skill to apply Buddha teaching to let them all to practice. Today, I will talk to you. How can we apply mindfulness to let our students practice in school? This we call mindful. So far, when we invite monks to teach meditation at school, they just teach knowledge. What is the meaning of knowledge? Blah, 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 blah. You keep talk. There's talking, no acting. Acting, no action. So just skip, what is knowledge, what is the mindfulness, the way the Buddha practiced in the past 2,600 years ago, and sleep is asleep. You're talking, I'm sleeping. Here, you keep more knowledge, you keep more information or data, but you never concern about mindfulness. So I change again. When I was appointed to be committee, I talked to Minister of Education and all committee. We have to change. They start from knowledge. Now we start from mindfulness. Every morning section, on Monday, they have to learn mindfulness. How to practice mindfulness. Then afternoon session, let them learn sciences, mathematics, socials, and so on. But everything to start from morning Monday, how to practice mindfulness, to be mindful, to be peaceful, to be happy, and find what is the real meaning of life. Everything comes from mindfulness. We have to change position. This digital world, everything is go fast. Like our minds, monkey minds go fast. What is the thing to maintain your mind? To recover your mind, that is mindfulness. To bring back. See, every time we be like this. When they want, they cry, oh, you give them telephone. Yes, telephone. They keep silent. It's like this picture. All the time we be like this. When you wake up in the morning, you try to find out where is telephone. My telephone. Not just your parent, not just your son and the daughter. Actually, when you wake up in the morning, oh, where is my son? You know, oh, kiss, oh, I love you really much. But now when you wake up, where is my telephone? My telephone, where is? Every time, their mind will be like this. So how can we apply mindfulness? See, this we call digital mind. Digital world, digital mind should go together by bringing mindfulness to let them all learn more about this. This is AI mindfulness. You use AI, there's no problem. But have to apply and implement mindfulness to let them all practice. Say they learn, we be like this at the school in the past. You teach mindfulness, Buddha teaching, it depends on you. It's your duty. It's not my business. I will be like this all the time. I'm so boring. See, I'm so boring. A boring teacher. Boring mindfulness teacher. It's so boring. Yeah, every time we be like this. So we have to bring mindfulness in education, especially educational system. Because when you talk about education in terms of Western, in terms of Buddhism, education means sikha. There are two kinds of sikha. Inner sikha and outer sikha. Inner education and outer education. Sikha in terms of Buddhism, this is in terms of inner education, which means you try to learn how to understand yourself. That is the first priority. Learn how to understand yourself deeply by aggregate. Body and mind is your master. That is Sikha in terms of Buddhism. But it's not outer education. It's not outer Sikha. Bring back to real Sikha. See, there are too many countries, especially UK. Our Professor Wang Sunin, he been to complete PhD from Oxford University. I have a chance to be in there for 1 year to learn English language, how to improve English language in there as well. See, in UK, they try to bring all children to learn inner Sikha, inner education. See, mindfulness and meditation will now be part of curriculum in 370 schools in England. What happened? When they've been to study in UK, in Oxford, there are too many students, and lecturer asked me, would you please teach me meditation? I told him, oh, there's no problem, but you have to teach me to speak English language fluently. Then I will teach you meditation. At the time, they would like to know more about it. It's not just children. They come back to students, see, in Australia, UK, America, everywhere they learn how to practice meditation or mindfulness. Because when they talk about mindfulness, which means they talk about Buddhism, Westerner, they don't like to talk about religion. Believe me, all the time when they talk about mindfulness, that is the time they talk about Buddhism. But they use in terms of mindfulness. Everything will be like this. See, there are too many books. There are too many books and research. They explain about this mindfulness. They try to practice and bring back. Change your mind and change your brain. It's the way they try to do. Because when you practice, when you train your mind will be strong, have strong concentration. After that, strong mind will maintain your physical body. The Buddha explained that body is like a cave. Mind is like somebody who lives inside the cave. When you train your mind will take the best care of your body as well. Everything will be like this. See, there are too many research. Amsterdam, University of California, they do research. It's about memory. See, when you try to practice mindfulness or meditation, it's a long time you will have a lot of. Would be able easy to remember everything. Good sanya. When you breathe in and breathe out. See, before you practice meditation, the time you practice, you take time for 20 minutes. After that, or 25 minutes, see you breathe will be like this. When you leave from meditation, everything will go back like that. Maintain your breath. If you would like to know now you have concentration enough or not, observe your breath. That is the tool that would be able to explain quality of mindfulness. See, when you have mindfulness, here increasing all the time, self-confidence, enhance effectiveness of study, good health, that is increasing. But decreasing will be emotion, pleasure, take advantage diseases, moody, worry, aggressive, anxiety, fear, panic. Get down all the time. That is the power of mindfulness. Our rector mentioned about foundation of mindfulness of Mahasatipatthana. Every morning we practice together 1 hour and 2 hours a week. For what? In order to let you all build or cultivate power of mind. That's the way to build the power inside your mind. If you have enough power, that would be easy to bring those understand the real mindfulness. If you don't understand because you learn from outer lecturer, learn from scripture, nowhere to understand mindfulness. When you don't understand those who listen to you, nowhere to understand easily. Because you remember mindfulness from text, scripture. When you remember, explain to them, nowhere to understand easily. You have to practice. When you understand, it's easy to bring them to understand as well. See, mindfulness. I explained is the meaning from the Buddha. There are 2 kinds of mindfulness. Passive mindfulness. In terms of Buddhism, we call parisutto. There's a passive mindfulness. When you practice meditation, your mind is so calm, peaceful, calm and peaceful. That is passive mindfulness. But whenever you will bring passive mindfulness to practice or use in daily life, we call susamahito and kammaniyo. Mindful walking, mindful work, mindful meeting, everything like we be like that. That is active mindfulness. When you learn as well, we bring this one thing. Before we will develop our tool, we invite many people, we invite our students to come to talk together. We organize workshop, MCBL. The first time we established this system, MCBL, mindfulness and concentration-based learning, is in Thailand. By apply everything into our school, we try to train our staff and talk together. How can we set up this project, MCBL, mindfulness and concentration-based learning? We call MCBL, mindfulness and concentration-based learning, and apply to use in the school. Because we all do believe that whenever we cultivate mindfulness, after that, mindfulness will cultivate compassion as well. Compassion comes from mindfulness. Because I told my students all the time, mindfulness is like a mother. We all come from our mother. Every Dhamma will come from mindfulness. And the Buddha explained like that. Monkey mind, if we try to train them again and again, that would be easy. For what? To take benefit from monkey. When you train them again and again. A dog as well, puppy dog, when we train them again and again, it's like a monkey. Our children, they really like puppy dog. We train them mindfulness. Whenever they go back to their home, they will stay with puppy dog. Take the best care, look after. Because we train them mindfulness. When they stay with puppy dog, they send compassion to puppy dog. They will stay together. Something like it. The way you approach to puppy dog, everything comes from your mind. In the way like the Buddha as well, when he was a child, he take the best care. See, this Devata, this is Siddhartha. He take the best care. When we bring story about the Buddha, we have to bring story like the same age. Our student is 8 years, 10 years. If you would like to bring story about the Buddha, you have to bring at the same age. When he was a child, they are students, not just they are so young, 10 years, but you bring the time the Buddha passed away. Why? I'm 10 years, why I pass away easily? The Buddha is hero, why I pass away easily? So you have to bring the same age like that to teach the same age of our student is this year. So I think it's very important for you all and bring research. If you approach them all mindfully, everything will go back, action and reaction as well. See, this is a framework of mindfulness and concentration-based learning. This is a framework. I explained to you a little bit inside here. Mindfulness and concentration go together. So this is a training in higher morality, or we call Trisikha. After that will be Trisikha, because training in higher morality, mentality, and wisdom, that is the process, the way to bring to train our student as well. This is a result. This is a concept. This is a process. This is result. When you practice like that, you will get mindfulness, loving kindness, integrity, respect, and truth. Everything come from 5 precepts. the result that we would like our students get it should be 5 precepts. That is result of that. That is a process. Start from here, mindful, here, preparing to learn mindfully, doing activity mindfully, caring and sharing mindfully, conclusion mindfully, implementation mindfully, the last one, mindful evaluation. That is, we apply to practice when we have to teach mindfulness to our young generation. Everywhere in Thailand now, every school, they use this one. They use this one. And we try to bring, this is a primary school. Primary school start from awakening, cultivating, changing, and being. This is secondary school. We start from primary school to secondary school. It should go step by step. Everything we have to awaken mindfulness. After that, cultivating saddha, changing their life, and being human. That's where we try to do. See, I will give you a little bit. Start from hero. Bring hero. Develop hero inside his mind. That's why I told you why the Buddha's hero passed away easily. They just 10 years ago, we bring them all learn about this. We train them all every time is hero. The Buddha is hero as well. When they teach about hero, cultivate hero inside their mind. See, we call mindful painting. Mindful painting. It is a hero. Training them all and facilitate them all to be. The last one I will give you is the last slide. If we have to teach our children to be mindful, everything starts from lecturer. Being mindful, first one, we have to train them all to be mindful. Then let them teaching mindfulness. The last one, teaching mindfulness. It's where we try to do, see, we train our lecturer everywhere in Thailand. See, every school in Thailand, 30,000 schools in Thailand, they use our technique, MCBL. And today, thank you very much. I do hope that the way we try to do 5 years, start from 5 years past, now we still use this technique. It would be useful for you to apply mindfulness to practice in your life, even mindful school. Thank you, Professor, and you all.
Deliver such an insightful presentation. Actually, I would like to open the stage for a Q&A session as well. If anyone has any questions regarding to his presentation, you can please ask. Anyone? If not, then we'll be moving on. Okay, with Professor Sunil has question regarding to his presentation. Please, sir.
So, thank you for the excellent introduction to mindful concentration-based education. So it has been implemented for 5 years already. Have you got any construct outcome to show some kind of effective changes in the field of education? If there are some of them, could you explain what kind of benefit a student or teacher has got so far?
Oh, thank you. That is a good question because I have no more time to explain about it. We evaluate all the time the way we teach mindfulness to our young generation, you know. Before we will start to teach them all each class, we have to do a pre-test first. Pre-test to check everything about them, about grade, about their character, what happened. So when we try to do some activity, for example, mindful song, mindful painting, mindful planting, plant the tree, bring them on, not just learn Buddhism in outside the class, to go everywhere to learn about it. So after we check, they're so happy when they go back to live with their family, their sister, brother, something like that. Their parent will give a report. Everything is go well. They're quite happy with their life. So one thing I would like to remind you all, when we learn mindfulness at the school, it's not just learn inside the class. So it should apply mindfulness to use in daily life. When you wake up, we need mindfulness. When you work, go everywhere, we need mindfulness. When you go back to their home, need mindfulness. When you sleep, need mindfulness. But I think next time I will give you evaluations about mindfulness from our student. Thank you, Professor.
Okay, thank you very much for answering that questions. So I think without further ado, we'll move
Thank you
on
so much,
to
Professor.
our next presenter. I would like to call upon Professor Dr. Frank Hoffman to present on understanding, seeing things as they really are, a contribution to fine-tuning what mindfulness is in Buddhism. And currently, Dr. Frank Hoffman is a full-time professor at IBSC. He's also a visiting scholar associate in South Asia Center at University of Pennsylvania during summers. And he received his PhD in philosophy of religion at King's College, University of London. Professor Frank has 125 published items, including books, book chapters, journal articles, encyclopedia articles, and book reviews. And he's also the associate editor of the journal. And he has also received many other achievements as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this kind introduction. The abstract of my paper today is here, and it's very condensed. And the reason for this is that this time I started not from a PPT, but I started from a lecture, a full publication. So I had to make it, what are the main points? So I've done that this year. The meanings of the Pali term for mindfulness, sati, do not include non-judgmental. And in Theravada Asia, mindfulness includes attention to doing good. Theravada Asia does not include non-judgmental in its definition of mindfulness, since mindfulness works for the good, unlike in John Kabat-Zinn's famous definition in the West, in which it appears as neutral. Seeing things as they really are, yatha bhutam, is a Buddhist idea that means in reality, in truth, really, definitely, absolutely. This means he knows as an absolute truth or in reality, yatha bhutam pajanati. According to recent research by Crosby 2020, Kasaniti 2018, and Cook 2010, respectively, meditation and mindfulness in the Boran Kamathana or old tradition way can unleash the technologies of transformation in modernity, develop the psychological power to succeed, develop one's psychological and emotional capacities, and combine, and this is hugely important, both pariyati and patipati together and overall to discover the benefits of being Buddhist for goodness' sake. I think when we start to write any paper, we're faced with a number of questions. And when we do that, we have to have a method of going forward. Otherwise, we just go round and round. This is the method I use in my own work and recommend to my students. First, we start off with a template, subject, topic, paper title, and thesis, and work it like a data funnel from large to small, ending with a thesis sentence, which is what you are trying to do or prove. Often this starts with a debatable question. If it does, you are poised to create new knowledge. And this is how we work in classes and how I work when I produce a paper. The main argument comes out of the thesis statement of the template. It's copied and pasted in the conclusion blank. In this paper, the main argument is premise 1, definition of sati, mindfulness in Theravada Asia, does not include non-judgmental, and right mindfulness is for goodness and the goal of knowing and seeing the truth. Premise 2, working for goodness and knowing and seeing the truth, one may avoid or mitigate crisis, a main idea in the paper, by seeing things differently as opportunities for cooperation rather than conflict. The book Mindful Mediation has greatly inspired me and forms one of the main publications behind my thought. 3, conflict according to arising and ceasing of mindfulness and compassion, along with the availability or lack of mindful mediation training. So it arises because of these conditions, and it ceases because of these conditions. 4, mindfulness is explained by example in Sedaka Sutta, compassion is explained in Samadhithi Sutta, and self-control, clear seeing, resilience, and right view are explained, illuminating irritability and hate in the Kodana Sutta. 5, mindful living is yatha bhutang, seeing things as they really are. I owe this to David Kalupahana, who often emphasized this in his lectures. Seeing things as they really are, in which humans intersect with all life instead of being overlords of non-human species and all life. And mindful living requires egolessness, a theme prevalent in Wetamuni's amazing book. Egolessness to eliminate suffering and achieve nibbana. 6, to achieve nibbana, one needs both doctrine and practice. The eradication of defilements for getting wisdom, and every moment sati. In Chun, they call it every moment Zen, right? In Zen. Sati is the cornerstone of Boran Kamathana, the old tradition of the forest monks, and it's got a recent impetus with the publication of the 3 books I mentioned. Therefore, the Buddhist idea of seeing things as they really are is logically connected to mindfulness. So any account of mindfulness without seeing things as they really are is inadequate. This is the basic idea. Okay, now I'm going to move a little faster because I think the timing is crucial to a smooth delivery. One of the books I got as a present not too long ago, and many of you get as presents, is the P.A. Payutta volume. And I've relied on it considerably and learned from it a lot for this presentation. Venerable Payutta styles sati, sorry about that. Oh, I went so fast, didn't I? One click. There's our technology. We're always moving faster and faster. He styles sati as encompassing many meanings, including these: concentration, wisdom, wise reflection, equivalent to heedfulness, involving sense restraint, and moral conduct. It can also be a factor in jhana and a factor in enlightenment. In the West, the influential professor of medicine and teacher of stress reduction, Jon Kabat-Zinn, has famously defined mindfulness as paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. I've got an appendix on his work. In Asia, we find that non-judgmentally is not normally a defining feature of sati. Kasaniti pointed this out very clearly. She notes that in the phrase remembering to do good in Theravada Asia, in this idea, we locate morality within talk about mindfulness much more than in the United States. Please think about that. I believe it's an important point. Non-judgmental is not a defining feature of mindfulness in the parts of Asia that can be called Theravada Asia. Mindfulness is not necessarily non-judgmental, for it can be seeing things as it really is. I link this whole discussion of Buddhism in my heart to the process philosophers of the West. Two examples of these process philosophers are Alfred North Whitehead, author of Process and Reality, who has a constant theme that, as we would say, in the Paticca Samuppada, the flow of events, we find processes, not substances. We find that processes are defined in relation to each other. And the wonderful process philosopher from Claremont, senior man now, John Cobb, emphasizes ecological civilization and environmental ethics, a major theme in Buddhism these days. Both process thought leaders have important parallels to Buddhism. An example is this from Whitehead. The misconception which has haunted philosophic literature throughout the centuries is the notion of, we would say, svabhava, right? Independent existence. Whitehead says clearly, there is no such mode of existence. Every entity is to be understood in terms of the way it is interwoven with the rest of the universe. Okay, so we could go into huge detail on this, relying on P.A. Payuttu. I refer you to page 1121 of his voluminous work if you want to check this out. Concentration is for the goal of knowing and seeing the truth, he argues. So he knows as an absolute truth or reality, yathabhutam pajanati. For example, the self or Atman, according to classical Hinduism of Chandogya Upanishad, is understood as a substantially existing, permanent, blissful center of consciousness. But to this, Buddhists say, na asati, it does not exist to this Upanishadic concept of Atman. This doesn't mean that we cannot use indexical pronouns, as Jayatilaka famously pointed out in early Buddhist theory of knowledge. Of course we can. This is a convention of language. It's not a metaphysical statement. If I say myself, yourself, and so on. In Buddhism, there is only a process of, again, becoming, not a substance self, punabhava instead of Atman. In this process, dependent co-arising happens in the wheel of rebirth. Wisdom from Sutta Pitaka. I give you only 3 examples. There are many. In the Bamboo Acrobat Sutta, Sedaka Sutta, mindfulness starts in our own case, not by being like the assistant who wants to first correct the master, but by being the good assistant who watches her own steps first. Because not only metta begins with yourself, but in practice, you have to clarify your own thing. You cannot be correcting others before you watch your own steps. Discord on perfect view, Samadhithi Sutta, involves knowing the distinction between skillful and unskillful actions and refraining from the unskillful, refraining from ragadosa moha. And I referenced the book that Dr. Hongsa asked me to make as a teaching book, Introduction to Early Buddhism. Grateful for that opportunity. Also in the Kodana Sutta, there is a study of 7 ways hate and irritability can harm you. Okay, we see some novices here studying. So we don't see them meditating in this picture, but we understand that both study and meditation go together. Mindful living, I think referencing Thich Nhat Hanh, who might be regarded as the father of socially engaged Buddhism, is crucial. It's not sitting on the sidelines to meditate. It's, as we just heard, every action is meditation. Every action should be like that. So meditation is not an event in life, something you do if you have extra time. All of life can become a meditation. And here's a picture of Te Master Han with all kinds of people, all ages. Mindfulness is for that community. It's not for the elite. It's not for the rich people who have time to meditate. It's for absolutely everyone who needs this in their life to change it up. Wetimuni's superb book, Buddhism and Its Relation to Science and Religion, explains that mindful living requires egolessness to eliminate suffering, a key that leads to the complete unbinding or nibbana. Crises are avoidable if there is a mindset of no ego, and at best, humans can work in an egoless way. At worst, we can destroy all human life and the planet by uncompromising behavior. What we need more is people who see the connection, as we just heard, of mindfulness to everyday life in all its aspects. Here is Pativeda. So you've got Pariyati, Patipati, Pativeda. The deeper study here at IBSC, which goes into our monastic community and the fourfold Sangha of monks, nuns, laymen, laywomen. You can see them all there if you look closely. The old tradition is one of the focuses of my paper today. You know, it has to do with the development of the Abhinya, but it also applies to the world. Here's my conclusion. The suttas especially show the way. Setaka Sutta shows, only when your own steps are mindfully secure can you help another person maintain balance. Samadhitti Sutta shows, distinction between skillful and unskillful actions and mindfulness and concentration are essential in practice. And Kodana Sutta shows one must adopt self-control, clear seeing, resilience, and right view to keep from harming yourself and others. In Buddhadasa's book, which I got in the bookshop when I came here at first, of the place in Chaya that Venerable Ta took me to, this remarkable book, Anapanasati, Breathing with Mindfulness, shows in summary 5 easy tricks how to maintain your mindfulness. And according to the recent research I point to by Crosby, Casanetti, and Cook, meditating and mindfulness in the old tradition way can improve our human condition, in short. And if you want to obtain a comprehensive view of the topic I spoke to today, by all means, C. Peuto's massive volume, Buddha Dhamma, 2017, and see the details, deep and scholarly and worthwhile and applicable, on page 1566. My argument here in this paper is towards the point that the Buddhist idea of seeing things as they really are is logically connected to mindfulness. So any account of it without that is really inadequate. Fundamentally, I can think of no more fitting conclusion than a quotation from John McConnell's own conclusion in his book, Mindful Mediation, a handbook for Buddhist peacemakers, where it says, essentially, the Dhamma belongs where there is suffering, for it is about liberation from suffering. The Dhamma belongs in the hearts and minds of people. It belongs where people are and in what they do. Certainly, Dhamma belongs in the what, but it also belongs, as Thich Nhat Hanh showed, in the market and on the battlefield. I hope you get something. I hope that I have been a credit to some of my teachers today. My Sri Lankan teacher taught me causality. My Chun teacher taught me no distinction between subject and object. And my Korean teacher taught me everything is equal.
Frank Hoffman for the understanding seeing things as they are.
Sure. I'd be glad to take a few questions.
Yes, please.
Okay, anyone? I'm used to this because my classroom is interactive, so it's no different here, right? Anyone? Yes.
I wonder, Orang Kamahan, the old meditation method, is slightly different from Satipatthana, as we understand.
Oh, it is. Yes, you're right.
How are you going to reconcile the difference between the two?
Oh,
In modern time.
very interesting. I would like to hear more about wherein there lies a contradiction, because I see most of the Buddhist ideas of the old tradition to cultivate divine eye, divine ear, and so on, psychokinesis, and especially the sixth one, knowledge of the destruction of the asavas, is already in Sutta Pitaka, already in early Buddhism. So I see no contradiction there, although it's an interesting thought. That could be a great journal article. Thank you.
And the professor, that got some question from the Zoom.
Yes.
The mindfulness must be maintained for wisdom to arise. Mindfulness, like a character, necessary to ensure all other faculty operate equally. So I think mindfulness is necessary to invoke Yoniso Manasikan. In this sense, mindfulness is clearly non-judgmental. Judgment comes with Yoniso Manasikara. A step that would come after mindfulness is developed. Hope Professor comment on this.
Well, I would comment by saying it's a wonderful idea. I don't see any question in it. I think it's a statement, and I agree with the statement. That's it. Anything else?
Thank you, Professor.
Okay, thank you. See who's
Thank
next.
you very much again. And right now, it's also the important part. So we would like to invite Professor Dr. Xiong Wang. Suni Wang. Oh, sorry, Suni Wang, the Dean of the Buddhism College from Dongku University. And today he gonna present the Buddhist meditation in the time of conflict. To better know about his research and his significant knowledge in the global knowledge of the Buddhism. He is an author of many research and many well-known books. So you can find all many in the Googles as well. And like the important one, like the metaphor and literalism in Buddhism, and also the study doctrinal development of nirvana in the Pali Nikaya. And he also has a very deep knowledge in Buddhism from his studies and Indian philosophy from the start, and has the master in the Indian Buddhism, and also have the doctor of philosophy from the Oxford University. So he has also obtained many global scholar awards like White Lotus Buddhist Cultural, and also the British Korean Scholarship Award. So he got many of them for our sharing today. So now he would like to share the very important view for the situation right now. So the present is gonna be Buddhist meditation in terms of conflict. Please.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Venerable members of Sangha, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sunil Hwang and I'm from Dongguk University, South Korea. I'm always feel a great honor when I stand here to give a talk toward my venerable colleagues and the student in MCU. And this time, just before lunch, so I'm going to be very quick in order to have more time to enjoy our lunch today. So today I'd like to talk about Buddhist meditation in the time of the conflict, and maybe become a Buddhist in Southeast Asia, like South Korea, pay homage to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and we retaining Panchashila, 5 precepts, then we become the Buddhist. And we all, Buddhists, all believe the work of the karma, good intention will have a happy result, and bad intention will have an unhappy result. So one of the Abhidhamma actually said, human deed do not just disappear, even after 100 millions of eons. When their time comes, conditions ripen, deeds bear fruit for, blessing beings, for the blessing beings. So in Buddhism, I have to say, the ethics is a personality, it's personal ethics. Each person is responsible for one's own action perpetually. So Buddhist action, Buddhist ethics is a personality action, and that is why it is not easy to apply Buddhist theory of ethics toward the group sections. People gather together like race, like people gather together in terms of religion, like people gather together in terms of country. It is not easy because Buddhist, theory of karma asks for each person responsible for their own, behavior in the past. So Buddhist personalist ethic is not working effectively when it meets with the collective idea of the group. So Erickson actually said, it is widely held by social scientists as well as lay people that the members of a human group have an innate propensity to distinguish insiders and outsiders, to delineate social boundaries, and to develop stereotype about other in order to sustain and justify those boundaries. If this is indeed the case, ethnicity can be conceived of as being nearly as a universal characteristic of a human as a group or gender or age. The tendency to treat the members of certain categories as though they have an underlying nature that governs the observable characteristic of their membership in the category. Ethnic, national religious group is essentialized when either member of a group or outsiders assume that the group's members share some of the internal property or essence. So this is in-group and out-group conflict. So maybe religion, for example, Christianity and Muslim, or Buddhist and Confucianist, or in terms of ethnicity, Thai and Burmese, or people from Cambodia and Laos and so on. They all have this kind of inside or outside conflict inside of their own relationship. So Richard Dawkins, when he wrote his famous book, God Delusion, in his introduction, he said, human beings tended to feel a sense of intimacy or fellowship when they belong to a certain group. The opposite side of coin is that they also feel, however vaguely, hostility, rivalry against those in other groups. The same phenomena is applied to feeling people get regarded to football team they support. Without any specific reason, they hate people who support their rival football team. For example, if you go to Ann Arbor in America, they have a very famous football team. It's Go Blue, belongs to Michigan University, and people hate Arizona State. So whenever they met anyone from Arizona State, they try to hit them, something like that. And similar thing happened in South Korea. I'm from Busan, and Busan has got famous baseball team called the Lotte Giants, and it's the bottom of the league usually. So whenever I met someone who support the other team, Dusan Bears and so on, I try to kill them. So maybe in Thailand as well, maybe Thai football team had a match against a football team in Vietnam. You are fighting each other. I assume. So this is kind of human nature we already developed inside here. So among the supporters of Lotte Giant, we share everything. Love and kindness and the food and support and everything we share together. But between the people who support the other team, without having any specific religion, we become very aggressive. We become, a kind of developing a kind of a sense against those ideas. So perhaps in-group morality or closed ethic could be deeply embedded into human nature through promoting stronger bond among our members and hostility toward other groups and strangers. So religion is a label of in-group, out-group enmity and vendetta, not necessarily worse than other labels such as skin color, language, preferred football team, but often available when other labels are not. So, John Lennon, when he sing a song, Imagine, he talk about the ideal world he is looking for. And here, you can see here, he said, imagine there is no countries, it is not hard to do, nothing to kill or die for, no religion too as well. So John Lennon's imagine the world, kind of a perfect world he was imagined. There is no country, because when we have a firm idea of a country where we belongs to, inside of there is okay, but from the outside we develop some kind of aggressive tendencies. So in his introduction, he said, imagine with John Lennon a world with no religion. Imagine no suicide bombers, no 9/11, no 7/7, no crusaders, no witch hunters, no gunpowder plots, no Indian partition, no Israeli-Palestinian war, no Serbian-Croatian Muslim massacre, no persecution of Jew as Christ killers, no Northern Ireland troubles, no honor killing, and so on. He actually talked about those things. So he presented one of the TV program in Channel 4 in UK. The title, The Religion as a Root of the Evil, he actually talked about it. So my question is whether that apply Buddhism as well. Buddhists also should be condemned like that. You know, that's one of my main ideas. How about Buddhism? Buddhist universal morality is slightly different from a kind of ethics developed in other religions. We have a metta and karuna, loving kindness and compassion. So being happy when other people are happy, being sad when other people are sad. So sympathy or compassion, we usually talk about it. Yet, just like a Buddhist theory of karma, Buddhist universal morality of loving kindness and compassion seems not function properly when it faced with the collective ideas such as a nation state, racial identity, with the outburst of conflict and violence among different groups. So even though we talk about become sad when other people sad, become happy when other people become happy, but it doesn't apply to the people we are fighting against. For example, Japanese economy going very well. Korean people, you know, we are not happy at all. You know, their economy should go down, something like that. Or North Korea develop atomic bomb, we become very sad. You know, it is very hard to become happy when Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea, achieve something. You know, so metta and karuna for the personal level apply only for the person we are kin to. So inside of a group, it is easy to develop, but toward the other side of the group, it is not easy. When the value of a nation state or particular racial identity become more important than individuals, what Buddhism could do is rather limited, since Buddhist ethics ask for individuals to take a full responsibility for their own behaviors. In the time of conflict, people tend to have more bond toward their own groups, such as a nation state and ethnic group, without showing any tolerance or open-hearted attitude toward other groups. So, for example, in Thailand, we have 93% or 69 million population of Buddhists. So Buddhist temple and Buddhist Sangha, is flourishing in all part of Thailand. But when we think about southern part of Thailand, Patani, Yala, and Narawiti, about 5.3% of population in Thailand. In deep south, they are, a Muslim, population area, and those areas are very important for Thailand as well as for the people living there, because in the old days there was a dual tributary system with China. Any country who wants to trade with China should go to Ayutthaya first, and then through Ayutthaya they can do trade with China. So southern deep south, like NST, Nakhon Thammarat, or Songkhla, or those small countries usually working with Ayutthaya. So this is the area where they belongs to. So it become very important for the maritime trade in the old time. So this tradition continue. So in many of the Thai mural painting, we can see many Westerners, appear in Thai Sangha and Thai, royal court, where you can see many Muslims as well, because they are the vehicle to bring them to Thailand, trading with China. So Ayutthaya became one of the most richest country during the 1600 and 1700, I assume. So those areas in the south, in the south, is very important. So their relationship with the central Thailand is very important historically. So Patani Kingdom annexed when British established its rule in Malay Peninsula through Anglo-Siamese Treaty in 1909, and in 1933, Patani Kingdom divided it into 3 provinces: Patani, Yala, and Narawiti. And the Yala, 68% of Muslim, 31% of Buddhist. Naraweti, 82 Muslim, 79 Buddhist. Patani, 86%. But all 3 states, the Muslims usually speaking Malay languages. So we should be very careful whether this conflict is based on religion or ethnicity. We should be very careful. If we saw this from the face value, we can easily assume, oh, this is a fight between Buddhist and Muslim. But underneath the face value, you can clearly see this is not the religious conflict. This is actually kind of conflict between 2 different ethnic groups. So compared with the southern Buddhist, we have a central and the northern Thai Buddhist. And the central Thailand, we have 670,000, and northern Thailand, 40,000 Muslims living in central and northern part of the Thailand. And 5 minutes. So the difference is that Muslims in the south, political and religious culture of Malay Indonesian Islamic tradition they actually follow. But in central Thailand, political and religious culture of Theravada Buddhism they follow. But they have a religion of Muslim. So it's very peaceful when we think about Muslim in the central and the northern part of Thailand. No problem at all. No problem at all. So I think the problem here is not religion, but kind of ethnicity. And then it is going to be how can I say fueled by the religious difference in the south, and then it become, how can I say, extreme, like LFRP or PULO and so on. So since year 2004, more than 6,500 deaths of both Muslims and Buddhists in Thailand. And from year 2004 to 2007, 16 Buddhist temples attacked in the south. And the Buddhist temple in the south become militarized because of that, like this. But central Muslims are different. I'm going very quick. So okay. A true Buddhist, what we should do when we look at those conflict. A true Buddhist should refrain from identifying friends and foes and confronting enemies under no circumstances, whether it is about nation state, ethnic group, or religion. So the role of religious people in this kind of conflict, try to make them harmonize together, try to make them reconcile together. So we Buddhists have a universal morality. In the time of a conflict, universal morality of Buddhism call on people to show their love and kindness and compassion toward all living creatures without having any distinctions like Thai or Malay and so on. So in order to develop that kind of attitude, mindful practice actually help us. So Buddhist has got 3 principles: anicca, dukkha, anatta. So nothing lasts forever, and it will eventually give us a suffering. So there is a nothing belongs to me, including myself. That is the three principles. And also, we also looking at world as a suffering or unsatisfactoriness. We are living in an unbalanced state between what we want and what we actually get. So we are living on the compromised state in everyday life. So mindful practice, when we actually do, so this is the left side is ordinary, observation, and the right side observation through anicca, dukkha, anatta, anicca, dukkha, anatta. So establishing mindfulness based on understanding anicca and dukkha, anatta in every moment of our life, we can actually develop a kind of a way to deal with it. One should constantly, perpetually recognize the fact that there is nothing, whether one like it or not, lasts forever. Everything eventually will give us the suffering, and thus there are nothing we can say belongs to me or myself in every moment of our life. Then that causes kind of a boundary between inside and outside, in group, out group become disappear inside of our mindful practice. When mindfulness is firmly established, one is losing interest in body, feeling, perception, intention, and concentration, and so on. Being without interest, once the lust fades away, with the fading away of the lust, one's mind is liberated. This is a typical sentence you can see in the early sutra. In the liberation of the following knowledge after occur, the birth is destroyed, religious life is fulfilled, done what we should be done, there is no more new existence in this realm. So mindful practice actually help us to get those principles actually implied in the world. Buddhist mindful practice could be the tool to make us apart from our habitual tendencies to identify friends and foes, to confront them as an enemy with hostility and violence, I think. Buddhist mindful practice could also develop the state of mind full of equanimity, upekkha, toward all living beings without separating our group from other groups. So upekkha is usually explained as a simile with the lake where there is no wind at all. So this is the real photo, and this is the tree reflected from the surface of the lake. So upekkha, when we try to achieve it, we should have all cut down all the stimulation from outside, make our mind just like a very flat, like this lake. That's the upekkha. So with this, 1 minute, 2 minutes, with this upekkha, we can develop maha metta and maha karuna. And maha metta and maha karuna, we call it as a great loving kindness and great compassion. So lay Buddhists tend to develop individual metta and individual karuna only for one's own relatives and friends. But a true Buddhist, with the help of mindful practice, should develop maha metta and maha karuna. So maha metta and maha karuna originally belongs to the Buddha and the bodhisattvas in the Buddhism, but we can try. Buddhists in the time of conflict should develop maha metta and maha karuna for all living beings without making any distinction among all living creatures. When all Buddhists have developed maha metta and maha karuna for all living creatures, the world we are living, we are going to live, will be better than the world we are living at this moment. So the effort of each and every Buddhist could transform the world of conflict with the full of contradiction, hostility, and violence into the world of harmonious middle without having contradiction, destruction, and devastation. So one of the Jataka story I like is a Mahakapi Jataka, where the Monkey King tried to save all his monkeys, and the human king actually attacked. So Monkey King was almost dying, and the human king actually asking for the wisdom you have. And Monkey King actually said, true Kshatriya, if you want to be a true king, you should have love and kindness, not only among your own armies, but also toward your enemies. Then you will become the true king. And he said, this is Mahametta and Mahakaruna appeared in, in this story. And also, I try to do some practice in South Korea. This is a tile donation. Tile donation we do in Thai Buddhist temple as well as Korean Buddhist temple. So in Korea, we are very specific. We give an address and the name of the people, and we usually put our own adhisthana, my own long life, my own success, my own healthy, and so on. This is all very personal or in-group, how can I say, in-group hope or in-group, kind of wishes. But when I came to Thailand, I think this is Wat Prachetupon, and this is in Saraburi, Puraputapat. I try to do tile donation there with my daughter, and we are very specific. We wrote our name and our wish, family health, and the family wish is fulfilled and so on. But as soon as I put it there, I become very embarrassed because the next 2 hours, you can see the world peace. They have a wish, not just for in-group. They are trying to have a wish for the all living creatures. So I think this kind of attitude or tendency among Buddhists can actually help to solve all sort of contradiction we are facing in. So this is one of the my favorite wish from Andrew Skilton. Now he's in Oxford, my senior colleague. He actually say, may all beings be well and happy. May they all be free from suffering. I think if all the Buddhists can develop this kind of idea among all the people, then I think we can easily overcome those kind of conflicts. So imagine, this is my answer to Richard Dawkinson in his introduction. Imagine with Buddhism, a world filled with the people full of loving kindness and compassion toward all sentient beings. Imagine no confronting ideas, no religious conflict, no territorial dispute, no war, neither rich or poor, neither living or dead. You may say, I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you and all Buddhists will join us. Then the world we are living in, we can live as one. Thank you very much.
For delivering such an insight in his presentation. So I'll open up the stage for a Q&A sessions if anyone has questions. Yes. Yes. So he will be the last presenter for this morning session. Okay, so if anyone has questions relating to this, you can ask. Okay. If not, so the morning session has been successfully completed. Thank you very much to all the speakers from this morning session for delivering such an insightful presentation. So yes, for the lunch break for the speakers, the presenters will be at the 3rd floor in this building. So you can, Venerable Ajanta can lead you all. So for the students, you can take the usual dining hall of MCU. So we'll meet up again at 1 p.m. Okay. So thank you very much for all the participants as well, both on-site and online, for staying with us. And we hope to see you again in the afternoon session as well. And as I mentioned to you earlier, that the conclusion session after all the speakers has delivered the presentations, we're going to be summarized by Professor Dr. Frank Hoffman. Okay.